See this teeny tiny little Wi-Fi icon that could be on pretty much any smart kitchen appliance? This could be one of the biggest and most expensive kitchen regrets that you could ever have if you're planning a kitchen renovation. My name's Carrie, and I'm a designer and founder of the blog Penny Modern, and today I'm going to share with you 5 of the smart kitchen upgrades that people regret the most in 2025. So if you've been wondering about the latest and greatest smart kitchen appliances, whether they're large or small, I'm going to share with you some of the ones that might not be worth your money. Oh, and make sure you stay around to the end, because at the end I'm going to share with you 3 smart kitchen upgrades and gadgets that are totally worth your money and you definitely won't regret buying. So make sure you stick around for that. This first one is going to be something that you touch and use quite a lot, and that is around a kitchen faucet. Those motion activated and touch activated faucets seem like they'd be super convenient and are totally worth the money. And I have lived with a couple of those myself, although this one is not a touch activated or motion activated faucet. My last place had them, and I have definitely got some stories for you. Here's what's actually happening with these high-tech faucets. They are definitely a very expensive upgrade that a lot of people consider when they're redoing their kitchen. I think we paid over $600 to put ours in because of all the electrical and the different motion sensor and touch sensors that are involved in it. One of the issues with these touch and motion sensor, especially the motion sensor faucets, is that they frankly are not as good as the commercial ones. I'm sure you've been out into a public restroom or maybe a restroom at the airport, and there's always these motion activated faucets, but those are commercial grade and they're designed for high use and a lot of wear and tear. The issue that we're finding is that these consumer ones that are for the home, they are not going to be able to withstand as much wear and tear, and they are also not as sensitive in terms of the motion. A lot of times people are trying to turn on their faucet and waving their hand underneath, and it's just not working. And that can be really frustrating if you spend a lot of money on something and it doesn't even work. And it can be especially annoying if you're preparing a multi-course meal and doing a lot of work in your kitchen and you can't wash your hands quickly because the dang faucet doesn't turn on. Based on my personal experience with a touch faucet, what happened with that is that after a while, I think after a few years of owning it, we ended up having to unplug it because it has both a battery and a plug, which is very important. If the power goes out, it's supposed to rely on the battery power so you can still use your faucet. But what happened is, after a while, we found that you couldn't actually leave it plugged in. It would only work on battery powered. Otherwise, it wasn't responsive to touch anymore. So that was super frustrating given how much we spent on it. And then my mom had one of these touch control faucets in her kitchen back in Illinois, and what she found was sometimes it would turn on all by itself. And that is very disturbing, especially if you think about if it turns on in the middle of the night, or maybe there's stuff clogging the drain. It could cause a flood in your house. So she always had to make sure it was completely turned off before she went to bed, because otherwise it would turn on in the middle of the night. What should you do instead? My recommendation would definitely be just to go for a regular old faucet, and it doesn't have to look old. You can make it look beautiful and have beautiful finishes like brass or whatever shape and style you want, but just get a more traditional faucet that doesn't have the touch or the motion activation feature. And I would say if you do really want one, maybe choose the touch one instead of the motion one, because I feel like having to wave your hand around all the time under the faucet would just get annoying really quick. Let me know down in the comments below. Have you ever gotten frustrated at one of those motion activated faucets and just given up? Or are you in love with them and they always work for you? Let us know down in the comments below. We just got a new range hood that you can see here. This is a Vasani, and while I was shopping, I saw a ton of Wi-Fi enabled and even voice activated range hoods. So I had to do some research for you guys to see if these are really worth the investment of getting that Wi-Fi connectivity. While I was doing my research and looking at all the reviews for some of these Wi-Fi enabled range hoods, I noticed one in particular on the Amazon website. A homeowner had posted that they had purchased one of these from Amazon, and in the reviews down below, it did say that they had connected the range hood to their Wi-Fi and tried to connect it to their Alexa app so that way it would be voice enabled, and they just were never able to make it work. And that was one of the primary reasons that they purchased it, and they were beyond frustrated. They'd tried so much, and they'd reach out to the manufacturer, and they just could not get it to work. This is beyond frustrating because you spent extra money to get the Wi-Fi feature and then it ends up being totally useless. And this isn't an isolated case on just like some Amazon no-name brands. This is also something that's going on with other brands that are major brands of appliances. There are multiple reports that I found online of GE smart range hoods that aren't connecting to the app that they are supposed to connect to. And it's frustrating homeowners all over the place trying to get their Wi-Fi features to work. And it's very frustrating because these range hoods, mechanically they work and you can turn them on and everything manually, but you're paying that extra amount and you're not getting the extra functionality. You might be thinking, what even does a smart range hood offer people, right? On the app, what you can do is control the fan speed. You can make it go off and on. You can turn on the lights. It also may have maintenance reminders. If you have any kind of filters, it'll remind you to change the filter. And I could see there is some convenience factor here where maybe you leave the fan on after you're done cooking and you go to your living room and you just want to turn it off with the click of a button on your app. Or maybe you're laying in bed and you want to turn the light off because you left it on. So I could see that there is some convenience in terms of having things available on the app. And then obviously, if you're trying to have a smart home assistant, like a voice assistant, to help you turn off and on your range hood, that is another big bonus that you wouldn't even have to reach up, especially if your hands are dirty because you're cooking or whatever. And having that convenience would be really great. Me personally, I did choose one that is not the hugest brand. It's called Vasani, but I decided to not go for the Wi-Fi enabled because I really like to minimize the number of bells and whistles that I have on my appliances, because I think if the less software and technology you have in your appliances, the longer that they're probably gonna last. That's just my personal theory on things, but you guys might have a different theory, so let me know. I would definitely recommend when you're shopping for a range hood to get one that is from a major brand. Always read the reviews, and you also want to make sure you check out the decibel level in terms of how loud it is, because that can be one of the biggest complaints. People might not even think about when they're buying a range hood how loud they can be, and so you definitely want to get one that's on the quieter level, and that way it won't be so disturbing when you're cooking and entertaining in your kitchen. And if you're thinking about doing your own kitchen makeover or kitchen remodel, I've got a great free resource for you. It's my kitchen budget worksheet. And this is something where it's going to list pretty much every line item of something that you might need to spend money on, including those appliances. It'll help you build that budget and figure out how much your project's going to cost. So get your free copy today over at pennymodern.com/freebies, and the link is down in the description. I definitely wanted to cover something about refrigerators and smart refrigerators, because they can be one of the most expensive appliances out of the whole appliance package. Smart fridges can cost anywhere from $3,000, $5,000, $6,000 is very common and up, right? So it is a very big investment to get a smart fridge. Now, we did get a smart fridge from LG, and I've been very happy with it for quite some time. I don't have any problem with it, but there is a fridge in particular that I wanted to call out here. And the appliances that I wanted to call out were the Samsung Family Hub smart refrigerators. So they basically have a big old screen right here on one of the panels. And these fridges are becoming one of the most regretted appliances because of that touch screen and some of the apps. The reason is because it freezes a lot, the screen doesn't turn on, and the apps just plain don't work. And some of these complaints are straight from the Samsung website. They actually have an entire page dedicated to Family Hub touch panel not turning on or not working. And Samsung recommends that you have to reset that Family Hub app in order to resolve issues such as a frozen screen, or it's not turning on, or the app's not working, or bad Wi-Fi connectivity. So you're constantly having to reset it. And then there's tons and tons of YouTube videos talking about how to fix some of the issues on these fridges as well. And that is another telling sign that there's a lot of problems if there's a lot of videos on how to fix those problems. One of the features of these fridges that I was really enticed by was that it has a camera on the inside of the fridge so you can see what's in the fridge when you go shopping. And I would love to have this, but one reviewer, a tech reviewer who reviewed this fridge, says that camera is basically useless unless your fridge is perfectly organized and you organize it in just the right way so that the camera can actually see everything that you have inside your fridge. So you have to keep everything in a very specific place or it's not gonna work. And then one of the other features on these fridges is a grocery tracking app that will help you determine if you need to reorder some things in your fridge, which I also thought would be really great. But apparently you have to scan every item that goes into your fridge and I think out of your fridge in order to make that work as well. It's not automatically detecting items for you. You actually have to physically scan everything. And the other thing is the touch screen and the apps, it requires a lot of updating and they're always sending out different updates. And so that is another thing that's a little bit of a hassle. I did buy a smart fridge myself. It really wasn't that much more than a regular fridge. And the thing that I do like about this, it doesn't have the screen, which I think is good because I feel like the screen is definitely gonna break. One of the cool features about it is it will send me a notification if the fridge is left open. And so I have a little kid. I also have an elderly parent that live with me and sometimes they leave the fridge open. So it's nice to get that notification so I can come close the fridge door. The one thing I don't think it gives you a notification when the freezer is left open, and that has been a problem. So I wish that they would add that feature on there that it would tell you when the freezer is left open because we've done that sometimes too. The other thing that I really like about the app that LG has on their Wi-Fi enabled fridges is that it'll remind you when you need to get a new filter. It'll also remind you of any other maintenance issues, and that icon that I was showing you earlier up here, that's actually something as a smart diagnosis. If there's something wrong with your fridge, you can enable the app to run a diagnosis, and that way on the app it'll tell you what's wrong with the fridge, which I thought was really cool too. Buying a fridge is a huge investment. It's one of the most expensive appliances, so I would definitely recommend that you read reviews. You may want to look at consumer reports. One of the things that I found out after purchasing this fridge was there was a lot of lawsuits with LG around the compressor, and I did not know that, but it has been fine with me so far. I did get the extended warranty, so I'm hoping everything will be okay. And as I researched further, there's actually a lot of lawsuits for different refrigerator companies. I know Samsung had a big class action lawsuits around their freezers, and so apparently LG has them around the compressors. So that's just something that you might want to research, but it seems like it's actually pretty common. There's just more technology, and so there's more reasons for the things to break down. This next smart appliance that I wanted to tell you guys about was around smart dishwashers, and in particular a smart dishwasher that is near and dear to my heart, and that is the Bosch dishwashers. This is not a Bosch, but my previous home did have a Bosch dishwasher, and I have a vacation rental that had one. I am a huge fan of Bosch, and I've done some videos around my Bosch dishwasher, and I'll link to those down below. But I do have some news for you around the newer versions that are smart and Wi-Fi enabled Bosch dishwashers. This story is gonna blow your mind, guys, and is completely documented online. Tech expert Jeff Gierling bought a Bosch dishwasher, a 500 series, here in March of 2025. He did his research and he bought it based on Consumer Reports recommendation. When he decided to run just a simple rinse cycle after he installed it, he discovered a major problem. He discovered that the rinse cycle, the eco mode, and my personal favorite, the delayed start feature, all require you to use this special Home Connect app from Bosch. There's no physical buttons in order to use any of that anymore. So that means you have to connect the dishwasher to Wi-Fi. You have to download the app. You have to start an account and allow all permissions and get the app on your phone to connect to the dishwasher, all just to use a delayed start feature, which I don't know about you, but I use that all the time. But apparently you cannot do that anymore because the delayed start button has been removed on the Bosch dishwashers. So poor Jeff had spent 4 hours installing this dishwasher, and he didn't want to have to spend another hour or who knows how much more in order to install this app and get the Wi-Fi connecting. And he was just completely infuriated by it. And I have read a lot of reviews on the newer Bosch dishwashers and trying to do some research for you guys, because I was thinking maybe the higher end models wouldn't have this problem. But I did just look at the Home Depot website, and apparently both the 800 series and the 500 series, and I'm sure the lower series, all have removed that delayed start button, and now it's only available via the Home Connect app. So when you're shopping for dishwashers, you definitely want to make sure that you're getting all the functionality that you want. Now, I personally don't mind having a Wi-Fi app that I have to use, but I know some people, they don't want to deal with it, or maybe they don't have a smartphone. So you definitely need to take a look, and I would definitely recommend going to a showroom at this point, because it was honestly hard to tell from the pictures online. And so that is something that you definitely want to think about when you're shopping for these appliances, to make sure there's physical buttons on there and all the buttons are on there that you want, versus having to use an app for some of them. Because what happens if your Wi-Fi goes down? Then you can't use it at all. I think for me personally, I will think twice before getting a Bosch. What do you guys think? Would that be a deal breaker for you to not have a delay start button on your dishwasher? Would you not buy it? Or would you be like, I could still use it on the app, so it's not that big a deal? Let me know down in the comments below, because I do need to buy a new dishwasher. I'm curious what you guys think, because I was gonna get a Bosch and now I might not. Now we're gonna move to the smaller smart kitchen appliances. And this is something that I think could be one of the most pointless smart gadgets of them all, and that would be a smart or Wi-Fi controlled microwave. Here's what's really happening with smart microwave. On Reddit's Smart Things community, yes, there's a subreddit dedicated to smart home things. And on that, we have a homeowner that purchased a Samsung smart microwave in June of 2025. Now, they were able to get the microwave to connect to their Wi-Fi and are able to use the app on their phone that was provided by Samsung, and they got the basic functionality. But when they looked at the app, they discovered you couldn't choose the right foods or really the amount of food in the app like you could on the microwave using the buttons. So the app had far less functionality than the actual microwave. And then if you look at Samsung's own support pages, there are tons of support articles about how the app can become unresponsive, or the microwave, the smart features can become unresponsive, and how to resolve those. So you definitely know there's a problem if there's pages and pages of content like that on their own website. And users on the Xfinity community, which is basically a type of internet, said that they can't even get their smart microwave to connect to their Wi-Fi at all if they have the Xfinity Wi-Fi. To have an appliance that doesn't even work with your Wi-Fi, that is definitely a big problem. And Consumer reports that the biggest complaints that people have around microwaves are excessive noise and uneven heating. Having an app on your phone isn't really going to resolve that. I don't know that you really need an app on your phone to go off when your microwave dings, because you're probably right in the kitchen anyway. That might be something that's just a waste of money, so it's better off skipping. If you're gonna get a new microwave, you basically want one that has good reviews about evenly cooking. There are a lot of microwaves that are becoming these multifunctional appliances that have things like an air fryer built in, and some of them can cook with steam, as well as a convection oven. Instead of getting the Wi-Fi, get something that has multiple functions, so you don't have to have an air fryer and a microwave. You have one appliance that'll do everything, and that'll be a much better use of your money. Now we're moving on to that bonus section about the 3 smart kitchen gadgets that I think you're absolutely gonna love and are definitely worth your money. But first, if you wanna learn how to decorate your home like a pro, but on a budget you can afford, hit subscribe, because that's what we're all about here at Penny Modern. So this next one is definitely a great kitchen upgrade and smart kitchen feature that is going to help protect you and your family, and that is a smart smoke alarm or smart carbon monoxide detector. And there's one by Nest Protect that actually can connect to your phone, and that way it can alert you on your phone, so you'll get the alert even if you're not there, which I thought is a really great idea. And that way you'll know if there's some kind of smoke in your kitchen, because obviously a lot of fires start in the kitchen. The other thing that's cool about some of these is they can determine if it is from just cooking smoke or real smoke. Because sometimes, you know, you're cooking and you might burn something a little and it sets off your smoke alarm. And so you might not want to call 911 because of that. A lot of these can actually tell the difference between that kind of cooking smoke and real smoke. The next one are these smart Wi-Fi enabled leak detectors. These are water that's leaking, and it's a little sensor. This is actually a door and window sensor, but they're like this. It is something relatively small that you can put under your sink. You could put it under your dishwasher. You could put it near some pipes, maybe behind your fridge, because sometimes that water line can leak behind the fridge. And that way, if you're not home, or maybe you have a vacation rental or you go on vacation and there's a leak, it'll notify you on your phone immediately. And maybe you're at work and you work all day and you have a leak. Wouldn't it be great to know right away coming home and there's water all over the place? So that can help prevent a lot of damage to your home. And if you ever do have a leak and you avoid flooding, spending the small amount of money for these Wi-Fi leak detectors is definitely worth your money, because you're going to save a lot in all the damage that water could cause. And the next kitchen upgrade that is a really great investment is one of Amazon products or a Google Home product. This is an Amazon Echo Show with the screen, and I know Google has these as well. Basically, what these are, voice activated assistant, and so you can tell your Alexa or your Google to add things to your grocery list. You can have it show you recipes. It also can tell you the weather. It can play music, all kinds of things. But I really like having these in the kitchen because they add a lot of value, and I frequently will have it add items to my grocery list. You can even have it shop on Amazon for you, which could be good. It also could be dangerous, especially if your kids learn how to use it. Oh, and the other thing that I think is great about it, it'll help you set timers if you need more than one timer because you're producing a meal that's multiple courses. I often use my Alexa as well as the timer on my stove. And unlike these super expensive, fancy smart appliances, these are very affordable. A lot of these devices are $100 or less. They're a great thing to buy when it's Black Friday or some of the Amazon Prime days. And now that you know some of the smart kitchen upgrades that you should definitely avoid, don't you want to know how to make your kitchen look more elevated, high-end, and luxurious without breaking the bank? Well, if you do, you've got to watch this next video right here, and I'll see you in the next video.